We can't hear.
कैमरा तो ऑन है लेकिन नजर नहीं आ रहा पे
निशान अब मेरे ख्याल में वो है मालूम नहीं है क्यों ये टेक्निकल कुछ प्रॉब्लम आया और ये निशान ऑन हुआ है बीच में। आई डोंट नो। चले आप लेक्चर स्टार्ट करें, मैं निशान को मैसेज करूँ।
चले ओके, मेरी आवाज आ रही है? आप क्लियर है? ओके गुड। चलें, मैं नायाब ज़िया नकवी हूँ और मैं पीएचडी कर रही हूँ के ल्यूवन से, एंड आई विल डिफेंड माय पीएचडी इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट ईयर और इन 2016। हम लोग आज बात करेंगे, द टॉपिक ऑफ दिस डिस्कशन इज व्हाई आई वांट टू स्टडी अब्रॉड। एक्चुअली इसका यह मतलब नहीं है कि आई एम गोना टेल यू कि आप लोग व्हेन यू वुड गो स्टडी अब्रॉड what are the things you would get out there and all those things. It's not that. It's more about, or what are the career perspectives. It's more about why you want to study abroad. It comes from within yourself. So can you hear me clearly, everybody? I think because someone saying about an echo issue. Okay. I'm going to talk about the statement of purpose. Like हम जब apply करते हैं किसी भी program के लिए, whether it can be a master's program or it can be a PhD program, we always want to tell them like what's our intention. So they ask us that हमें कोई statement of purpose हमें दें. Like they ask us कि application के साथ एक statement of purpose होती है. I'm going to talk about that, how we can effectively write a statement of purpose, what are the things we require in it, and the key question about starting to write this statement of purpose is why you want to study that particular course. I don't know how to do this. Okay, I think I can see now. Yep. Sorry. Okay. For a statement of purpose, whenever we apply, हमारा intention ये होता है, we want to say, I am brilliant, I have got all those experiences, pick me rather than anybody else. So we are like a drop in an ocean when we apply for any master course, for any scholarship out there. Now, but we don't say directly on our statement of purpose that I am brilliant, please pick me. It's like you are arrogant and you know you are the best. But you need to show it with your letter, with a cover letter or this motivation letter, this statement of purpose, this intention letter. Okay, I mean, it can have different names. Then, what is a statement of purpose? Sometimes it's just a few words, for instance, 500 words, or it can go up to maximum 2 pages. But when you write for 2 pages, you don't do like, okay, you don't care of margins and you don't care of the font. You use some small font and you say, okay, I have to write as much as I can. You cannot do that. You have to have like a standard font. For instance, we use 12.5. It should be a single-spaced essay, and you can have maximum 2 pages if there is no limit. But if there is a limit defined, then you need to write just like, if it says 500 words, you shouldn't write 501 words. So they know it. They have word count. They like, you know, when we open a Word document, we get the word count. So we shouldn't do that. And then it's an academic biography. You talk about your achievements, about your academic qualification. For instance, when you apply for a job, we use a CV. I mean, for a master's application or a PhD application, you do apply with your CV. But in an interview, in a job, you get an interview call, and then you go and meet them. Like you say, the person asks you questions, and then you can tell them one by one what's in your CV, and you define those things. But for applying for a master's application or for a higher education application, you need to write a letter and defining all those things in your academic career. So it's a biography, and you talk about yourself. Then a personalized SOP for each program. For instance, you need to, if I want to apply for 5 master programs, and I know that that these what if I would just write a standard SOP and I would start sending that to all those 5 master's programs? It's a bad approach, because हम लोग जब लिखते हैं, हम लोग जब सोचते हैं कि हमने किसी मास्टर्स में अप्लाई करना है, फॉर इंस्टेंस आई एम गोइंग टू अप्लाई फॉर मास्टर्स इन e-business centered computing, and then I am going to apply in masters in business intelligence. If I would write, these two things are different domains. They are subdomains of computing. But if I write a standard SOP, it would show that I am not interested, like, or maybe I don't have that much information about the subject. Like, okay, we talk about the subject as we say computing, but this computing has multiple subfields. So whenever you talk about an SOP, particularly a personalized SOP, you talk about those fields, subfields. You need to show in your SOP that you know that domain, you know that. It's not always about, like, mostly, like, someone asked me a question that whenever you go for higher studies, you have to be a teacher. Like in our forum, someone asked that question, but it's not necessarily the question, the case. You have to just show why you want to study that. The same question pops up, why you want to, like, we in a big picture we say why you want to study abroad, but you can say why you want to study this particular course. So you need to write your statement of purpose in a more personalized way. It shows that yes, this is you who is talking about this master's course. It's not like it's not you who is talking about 5 other master courses and you just want to study something. People, when they read it, they know that you. I would give you a few case studies in my this presentation, and then you would see how it impacts and what the reader thinks when he or she reads that. Then you have to show your competencies in a particular area. In your statement of purpose, as I started my presentation, I said, I am brilliant, please choose me. It's like, okay, choose me, I am the best. But you don't say it clearly, you say it with your competencies in that area. You know you're the best and you talk about that. Then you have to tailor it properly. It's the same thing. You need to follow some structure. I will talk about that structure further. And it's not an essay that you would write in 2 hours and you say, yes, I know myself, I'm going to write, I'm going to apply. I would give you an example of an application where someone just submitted a statement of purpose and, let's say, tailoring it in 2 hours and ending up with a rejection. So you need to work out in your statement of purpose. You need to take a lot of time and you need to give it time. It's in a nutshell a statement of purpose, like the actual definition of statement of purpose. Now we'll see what are the phases of writing. We start like whenever we apply, we get a question why you want to study this particular course or why you are applying on that course. You just don't start writing directly. You have to follow certain phases. Let's say there is a pre-writing phase, then there is drafting, writing, and then proofreading. Like first you think, in pre-writing phase, you prepare yourself to write, to talk about something you are going to study in future. For instance, for an interview, for a job call, what we do, we prepare for an interview because we know we are going to sit in front of that person and we are going to talk about ourselves. This is the same thing, but we get an edge here that we're not sitting in front of that person who is reading a letter. Well, we need to make a letter in a way that the person who is reading our letter would feel that we are sitting in front of him and we are talking to that person. So in this preparing phase of pre-writing, we follow certain guidelines. For instance, research about the available programs in your area of interest, and then you read about the instructions carefully. What are the requirements of that program? Why you want to apply there? Like they tell you, like for instance, if I'm going to apply for masters in biomedical engineering, I should know that studying that course, what are the perspectives, what I would get out of it. So I need, sometimes you don't know it. Sometimes you just apply, you just read a call. Okay, this master program is open. There is an open call for this master program. And I think I studied bachelor's in computer sciences. I can study business intelligence. But what actually is business intelligence? Sometimes we don't know that. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि आपको जो ओपन कॉल होती है मास्टर प्रोग्राम की, किसी भी प्रोग्राम की, उसमें उन लोगों ने डिफाइन किया होता है कि आप मतलब इसमें ये सारे कोर्सेज हैं और इन कोर्सेज को पढ़ेंगे तो आप यू वुड गेट दिस काइंड ऑफ जॉब्स. ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर डिफाइंड ऑन देयर पेज. You need to get some time, you need to go and read those things. Then the next point is, okay, now you know this course is about these skills and academic skills I'm talking about. For instance, if I would read business intelligence, I can get jobs in business domain for applying information technology in it. So what drives you towards that chosen program? Why you want to study that? Now you have to think why you want to study that program, and then why you want to select that university, like why you want to go and study. Like people ask me, why you want to go and you came here in Belgium and choose Leuven to study here. You need to know, you need to answer, you need to talk to yourself that, okay, I have got 5 options in these master programs. I want to go and study, but you need to know why. This is like you have to ask yourself again and again, why, at every stage of applying. It's not just writing statement of purpose. You have to apply. When you start thinking of applying and study abroad, you need to start asking yourself why as well. For instance, we know we have multiple phases of an application, and each phase, when we know that why we want to apply, we are more passionate and we work through each and every phase. For instance, if you are preparing a GRE or you're preparing an IELTS, if you are passionate about your studies, you would give time to it and you would work on it. You would really prepare for IELTS, or you would prepare for GRE and other tests. So you want to know and talk to yourself why you want to study. So the next point is you need to think carefully what you have done so far, what you have in your basket to offer to others, and then why you're interested in that area. These things are really important when you go and study. For instance, when we pass, like in Pakistan, जब मैंने metric किया, so we had a few students, they have a big question, okay, should I study science or I should go to arts? इस तरह के questions होते हैं ना कि अभी recently a cousin of mine, he's going for O levels, and he asked me, what sort of subjects should I choose? So you have to ask yourself, I mean, okay, at matriculation or O levels, we don't know that, okay, we don't have that much big perspective, but it's better if you start thinking from that stage, and then at every stage, you know that why I want to study this particular subject. I mean, I have to get up every day and I have to go to university and study these courses. But if there's no interest, then you will never give your best. So you need to know, and then at the end, you will not achieve what you desire to achieve. So you need to talk to yourself while writing this essay. And you have to describe the aptitude and the motivation. These two things, like I know I am the best, but I can just, I mean, I'm not saying I'm the best, I'm saying I know I am the best for this course, but why? You need to write that in your SOP. You need to justify yourself. When I talk about think, and I said what you have and what you have done so far, and you have to think thoroughly. You can take help with mind maps. For instance, I've made a mind map. When I have to write an SOP, how can I start writing it? I thought of, okay, what I did, I thought of all my transcripts. As you can see, I don't know if I can point, let me check. Pointer, yes, I can have a pointer. Yeah. Good, that's nice. Okay, I gathered all my transcripts, and then I thought, okay, what else do I have? I did my thesis, and then you know what's the topic of the thesis and all that already, what you did in your thesis, what it was about. Then what sort of practical experience you had. You can have lab experiences, practical sessions. You might have done some independent studies as well. For instance, you went to seminars and different research conferences. You did some sort of internships in past in your bachelor's. You might went for a research internship at your in your bachelor's. So you have to consolidate everything in this mind map, and you need to know what sort of subjects did you study in your coursework, and whether they are I mean, at this stage, maybe you don't know how. I mean, when I am applying for business intelligence, for instance, or artificial intelligence. I know what sort of subjects from my transcript would add up to that course, to that degree. So I need to think of that and consolidate those courses. Okay, not everything is positive. You might have some negative experience as well in past, but you need to know that experience. For instance, I before doing this PhD, I applied in Australian National University. I got selected, but there was something like I didn't get scholarship, so it was a negative point that I was not good enough to get that. But I need to know how I actually use that experience to go further. What if I would just stop and I would say, oh yes, I'm not good enough, I cannot apply, I cannot go further. You need to know your negative experiences as well, and then you need to show, believe me, if you show in your SOP that you had a bad experience, a negative experience, but how you overcome that experience, it's really makes a mark. It gives like जब reader उसको read कर रहा है, so he would understand. Like for instance, the reader is reading 500 applications in a room in a day. For instance, let's say in a day he has to read 10 to 20 applications, 10 to 20 statement of purposes, and all of them are so pale. Everything is so same. Yeah, I did this. I'm applying. People write that. A lot of applications, and in that application there is one statement of purpose that's so practical. Like someone has talked about their negative experience in a so much positive way that has left a mark on the reader. So you need to, or we don't need to ignore our disabilities. Let's say we don't ignore our negative experiences as well, but we learn from them. So in your mind map, think of everything you can think of, whatever you have done, whatever you have achieved so far, and then in the next step, you start drafting. So you've already done your homework. You know what you are applying to. And then here, as you can see, your aha moment. For instance, I was studying science, and then I studied mathematics and computer sciences. For instance, I got an introduction to computer sciences, and I was like, oh, this is so amazing. This computer science, how computers are changing our lives, and they're going to be everywhere, and people are going to be digitized, and everything is digital nowadays. So what actually inspires you? You need to know why you want to study that particular subject, and not like I would give the example further, not like that. When I would say, I would give that example, but you need to know why you are interested. Why it's not that I am good in mathematics, that's why I want to study mathematics. There are a lot of people out there, they are good, they are better than you, they are best in mathematics. Because for instance, just think, when we pass our exam in मतलब पाकिस्तान में जैसे इंटरमीडिएट के एग्जाम्स होते हैं, तो कितने सारे स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, they've got 100 out of 100 in mathematics. So you cannot say, I am good in mathematics, that's why I want to study maths. You need to know why. You need to know the subfield. You need to know the applications, for instance, that domain, what you want to study. And then you have to share a trail of intellectual development, like how you acquired those knowledge, those things, how you are different from others in a way that what you know about your subject actually, what you already know about it. Okay, you are going to study it, but how you already work. For instance, if someone is working in data mining, and then he applied few techniques to, let's say, simple techniques to sort out data from millions of information, like millions of, I'm trying to use normal terminology, let's say millions of records. He is trying to sort out those records, but he's finding it out maybe difficult or interesting, like how do you apply those algorithms. I'm from computing background, so please forgive me if I'm using too much computing talk or computing examples. But these things can be applied to other sciences as well, like to social sciences, humanities. Like everybody should know why they are studying and what was that moment. Like when, for instance, if someone is going to study speech recognition, why he got so inspired and want to study the speech recognition. Or maybe us research on blind people, like why you are inspired on that. So you need to know and share a trail of intellectual development there. And then be specific about why the program is good fit for you to, I mean, you always say, yes, I want to study it. I know these things, but you need to know why this program is best for you. What are the perspectives? What is the vision? What is it offering to you? you need to analyze in future as well. You have to have a broad vision. You need to think why I want to study this program, this particular program, and why I want to go there. Then keep your audience in mind, like who is reading your statement of purpose. For instance, if there is an open call for a scholarship, and they say from, for instance, let's say there is an open call from University of Reading, and they say we are offering a master's scholarship-based master's in artificial intelligence, and then and then they tell you actually sometimes in courses who is the faculty members, who are the faculty members involved, or maybe use your own common sense. So maybe you can work on it, and you can check that, do your homework and go to that site and check, okay, this is a course, these are the groups who are offering, like in a big university there are colleges, and then in those colleges there are small groups, research groups, for instance. And then in those research groups, you go and professors interested in, for instance, if there is a research group for artificial intelligence, the professors in that group, they are actually going to, the faculty members from that research group, they are going to analyze your application. So you can go and do your homework, go to that, to the web page of that professor. If you don't know a particular professor, that is most of the cases, then you need to go and read about multiple professors from that research group, and you need to know what sort of research interests do they have, what are the subfields they are working on, and if in this master course, for instance, I am in artificial intelligence master's course, I am offered a course, and you would, if you have done your homework, you would know which professor is actually going to give you that, going to teach you that course. So it's not that, like, always when you write your statement of purpose, I'm saying that you know who is going to read your letter, your application, but you can give a guess, like use your smart guess, and you know that, okay, in this university, these are the people, they are working on these domains. Okay, one of them might be interested in reading my application. So you need to know who is your audience and keep them in mind when you write your SOP. Then when I talk about future career goals, you need to know in 5 years, where do you want to see yourself? I mean, if I am applying for a research-oriented master's program, I want to see myself as a scientist or as a research professional, maybe somewhere in the world. Like you need to know where you want to go. For instance, if I am not applying for a research master's, I'm applying for an applied master's course, I need to know that, okay, which type of companies I need to work with, I need to work for, and you can think of maybe you can think that which sort of domains you are going to work on, maybe the applications, maybe the products. So you need to work through about your future goals and know your career goals. If you want to be, I mean, the simplest example is, yeah, I want to be a professor for algorithms. But to be there, you need to know what are the things you need to achieve first. So it's about that, like being in academia. It can be like, I want to go work for instance, I want to go and work for Samsung and some new technologies and innovations they are working on. I mean, being me, I can think of that. You never know, but you need to work. You need to think at least. I'm not saying you would achieve that, but you need to have realistic goals. You have to be more practical towards. And always, as I mentioned, you need to take your time. So this is all drafting. And when I say drafting, you think of all these things, and then you start writing. When I say start writing, I meant it. Start just writing. Don't think about anything else. Like, what am I writing? Oh no, I shouldn't put this thing. Don't use your brain in this way in this stage when you just start writing and drafting, because it's a draft. You can omit things. You can add more things in it, but at least start writing, and then after your homework, after all these, you know what you want to put in your essay. At the next stage, when you are done with your draft, this draft which has all those things in it, you go to a friend. You seek help now here. You have a lot of intellectual friends around you. Maybe you can go talk to your faculty members. In your bachelor's, maybe you had professors, they were very good to you, because you can go talk to them. You can show, if they don't, most of the times professors, they don't have time. You can talk to your friends too, your peers too. You can show your draft to them, and then you can discuss that, okay, I want to, maybe you can talk to your parents. You can tell them, yeah, I am applying for this master's course, and I have written this draft essay, and what do you think is which is the best part I should put, and what do you think when you read this essay? So you need to discuss to others. They can give you pointers that, yeah, you when you did this thing in your bachelor's, maybe that can add up. Maybe you skipped a conference or seminar, and your friends or your maybe parents would know that you went to another city, another country, and did this thing. So they can give you pointers, or maybe they can give you some more things to put in your essay, or some things that you can omit in your essay. So you need to discuss your essay. It's not always what I have written, I know I am the best, I know everything about myself. Your people around you might know you very well when you're writing your SOP. Okay, the next phase is writing. In this phase, this is the second phase. In this phase, you talk about, you follow certain rules. You follow, now in your draft phase, you knew what you have put in your essay, and in your writing phase, you follow certain structure. You start with an introduction. So in your draft phase, you can take out stuff and say, yes, these things I am going to put in my introduction because they look really, I mean, I would tell you in further in this presentation what you have to put in your introduction. Like this is the simple structure, but we can actually break apart this structure as well and put more things into it. So you follow introduction, you write about what you have to write in your introduction. I would discuss that further with few examples as well. Then you have to summarize what you did as an undergraduate. You already know that in your mind map, you have a summary in a graphical shape, and in your draft, you wrote those things already, so you know these things. You know how to summarize, you need to do that. Then you have to indicate what you want to study in graduate school in greater detail. Like, for instance, you can elaborate that in your opening paragraph as well. For instance, I'm applying for Masters in Business Intelligence, and you can further talk about your sub fields, like in business intelligence, how you actually apply that, and what you care, how they are changing the world around you, these kind of things. I mean, you better know about your interests and your field. You need to talk about them here. And then you end your essay with a positive message, like why you are best. But you don't say it, I am the best. But you say, I look forward to it, or I would give you examples for that, how you end your essay with a positive message. And how not to. I will talk about that too. Now let's discuss our structure in detail. We say we have an introduction, and that's our first paragraph. We describe the general areas of research that interest you and why when applying to a particular master's course. And then you talk about your second or third paragraph. Like, when we talk about the research here, it doesn't mean that you have to be a professor, you have to be in academia. That's what research is meant to be. No, research means you have certain questions and you want answers to them. And these questions can be from any research domain, like from any field. So this is what we call the research. Like you want to know, you want to learn more, you want to acquire knowledge about certain things. This is what the research is. So you describe the areas of research, and then your interest and why. In your second paragraph and the third paragraph, I'm talking about like when you have no word limit, for instance, and you're writing for a PhD a statement of purpose to apply for a PhD, or a statement of purpose to apply for a master's where they haven't asked you to write a letter for just 500 words. It can be 1,000 words, or it can be 2 pages. So if there is no limit, you can go with that. Like you can add more paragraphs. You can say in your second and third paragraph, describe some research projects you have worked on already. For instance, you can talk about your master thesis. Here you can talk about your, you can talk about your thesis in your bachelor's. And if you're applying for a PhD, you can talk about your master thesis or the research projects or the coursework you have done. Then what you found, what you've learned, which approaches did you try. It's fine to say that you were unable to prove something, but you wanted to solve a problem and you're not there. It's the same thing, like you had some, let's say it's kind of failure, but it's not a bad failure. You at least did try something. So in your first paragraph, you have to talk about why you feel you need a master's or a PhD. Like why do you want to study this particular course? This is the third or fourth paragraph. When I talk about third or fourth, that means it depends on the length of the essay you're allowed to write. And then in your fifth paragraph, in your last paragraph, describe why you want to join that university, who might you like to work with, what papers have you looked at for that university, and professors that you enjoyed reading. When I talk about that, that means you are getting a bit more personal to that course. Like if I am applying for a PhD, when I applied for my PhD in KLUN, I knew already that which professor is there and with whom I am going to work and what they are already working on and what I would like to work on already. For instance, in PhD, you already have a research proposal as well, and you know these things, that how you would add up to their research. But in a master's, you can discuss like why you want to study for, even for a master's or for a scholarship. You need to show that you're enthusiastic, you are motivated. So here you get a bit more personal before ending, and you tell that, yeah, you know about this university already for something, and you can talk about those things and what that program would teach you. So it's more about the future goals or perspectives out of that master's program or out of that PhD. Maybe PhD, you don't talk about your perspectives in a great detail, because when you start your PhD, your motivation, you write something, but it not always end up with the same thing and throughout the course of your PhD. So, but you need to show that you have a vision. You have worked through it. You know it, what you are going to do, what you're going to study in your statement of purpose. Our next point is, now we are going to talk, that was all theory. We are going to talk about the examples. What I ever said, maybe that was a bit boring when I was talking about those things, but over here, we are going to work out some examples, and we are going to talk about case studies, how people do that. And for instance, if I am going to write an SOP, and I'm going to say, my name is Nayyab and I want to study abroad. Wow, we know that already. My name is Nayyab and I want to study abroad. This is the most boring and the most sloppy thing that you would start your introduction like. Or maybe, I want to teach English at the university level. To do this, I need a PhD. That is why I'm applying. That means I'm not, when I would read something like that, I would say, oh, this person, he or she doesn't even know that what is it about reading, like doing a PhD, and he just wants to apply because he wants to teach English. This sort of person is not going to work with us properly, because he is just so shallow. He's so at the surface level. He doesn't even know how the details of the domain. So we never start like that. So I would give you, here you can see an example. It's a chunk from I've asked from a lot of successful people who had written their motivation letters, and this is one from a successful person. She or he applied for PhD in Oxford University, and this is how the person approached in their introduction. I'm applying for admission to master's my research in medical physics and biomedical engineering. So you can see the text in black. This is what you mentioned that you are going to study. And then here you talk about your subfields, the advances in CD and MRI, PED, and like the main subfields of the things you are going to study. I mean, I am going to study business intelligence, but what is in it? What I am going to actually study. So you have to break it apart, and you need to know the subfields, and you start in your introduction and talk about that. It's a bit wordy because there's no limit for this motivation letter. But if you have a limit for the motivation letter, you might can omit few things from here. It's not a hard and fast rule that you have to do it as it is, but you have to use your creativity. Then we have more examples here. In our introduction, it's another introduction, a person who was applying for masters in a university for computing, parallel and distributed computing, and he or she started talking about the parallel and distributed computing, how it's changing the things around us, and then it says that I feel it very important for myself to have research experience in parallel and distributed systems to implement the ideas relating execution of tasks across multiple processors and dealing with data distribution over wide area network, including internet. So that means this person at least know that what parallel and distributed systems is. So it and what sort of things how we apply it, and what are the impacts of these things, these technologies. So you need to, in your introduction, you need to start like that you know the domain a bit. I mean, when the person is reading your statement of purpose, he's not expecting, or she is not expecting that you are a master already. You're applying for a master's course, but at least in your bachelor's, you've got a course about, maybe a couple of courses about that domain or the subdomains, prerequisites of that courses maybe, of that master program. So you need to know, and you need to show that you've already, you know, a few things about that the subfields in your introduction. Now, in your second or third paragraph, you talk about your skills, like what sort of courses you have taken, as I mentioned earlier, or your skills. It can be your technical skills, your transferable skills, your interpersonal skills. So, for instance, if you start and say, you need to tell them what you are good at. But if you would say like that, my friends tell me I'm very friendly and loyal. Is it a good way to say that my friends tell me I'm friendly and loyal? This is not the way you say it. You don't always talk about yourself directly. You talk about the experiences. You say that use dynamic and positive words and never write anything negative. I mean, when I talked about the negative experiences, I didn't say that you have to write that I have this bad experience and I'm not happy. You have to talk about in a positive way about your negative experiences as well. And this is about what you've got out of any experience. For instance, here you can see a few examples. If someone writes in their SOP, I really enjoyed being a teaching assistant because it increased my analytical skills. And then you say it increased, giving the lectures have increased my communication skills and my confidence that I can stand and talk in front of people, in front of students maybe. So this sentence conveys a message that this person is confident and the person has analytical skills or communication skills. You can clean it up a bit. You can reduce the words maybe in these things, but I hope you got the meaning that you have to talk about your experiences. For instance, through participation in debates and discussions, I've got the courage to discuss my own ideas in front of people. So you talk about these things if you think in your drafting phase, in your mind map, that these things would add up. For instance, if someone is applying for a master's in drama, for instance, or in performing arts, you can use these kind of things. You can talk about these kind of skills as well. And if someone is applying for computing or some mathematics, you can talk about the first thing like numerical analysis and my analytical skills. So this is how you describe your skills. You never say it directly. You talk about your experience and you say what you've got out of that experience. Okay, if you're applying for a research master's or a PhD and you're writing an SOP for that, you can describe your research projects in a bit more detail. You can say, okay, you can say like, working on the thesis or working on the project, I've got deep insight. But when you talk about I've got deep insight, it's incomplete information. When I'm reading, I'm like, what sort of insight? What sort of insight? Is it going out and watching movies? Is that insight? No, it's about you need to discuss the actual areas, what you've got out of it. For instance, I've got an insight on different mathematical models. And these models, I mean, you can, I don't want to read all of that, but you can see that this person is trying to show that I have got insight in the mathematical models, and modeling, using those models, I can describe biological processes. And then furthermore, you can talk about the courses which are helpful, which can behave as prerequisites towards your master course or towards your further studies. So you can talk about that in a more like, what do you say, in a more detailed way. So it's a kind of trail how you achieve them, and you talk about them. And when I am reading, I get like I being a reader of this SOP, I get the meaning out of this. There's no incomplete information. For instance, I said I got deep insight, but then I didn't discuss about those things. And from my previous slide, for instance, I said I've got communication skills. I have very good communication skills, but how you acquire them, you need to justify those things as well. I'm not saying write a novel, but you need to know how you talk about. You need to be picky. You need to be picky about the things you are going to talk about, that your skills, your achievements, your awards, but don't put everything in it. So let's go. Yeah, it's the same thing. You have to reason with examples. For instance, if someone is saying I'm charmed about the applications of AI or the magic of computer vision, I mean these kind of flowery words, but when you talk about use few catchy words, you need to reason about them as well. For instance, I am charmed because nowadays I see smart mobiles and they are providing auto scroll, auto screen movements, and how we actually talk to them with our heads and fingers. You know, I mean, you need to reason about the things you are talking about. That means you have some insight about the things. You are not at the surface level. For instance, in this SOP, this person have talked that I have actually used the techniques to manipulate a data of almost 30 million users. So it's a kind of data manipulation with the data mining techniques, and he wants to study and apply those techniques in a more practical way. So mastering in these techniques would help him in future too. So it's like you need to reason about your examples, what you are talking about. So never give an incomplete information in your SOP. Always reason about the things you have acquired and or the domains you want to study, about why. Never say I am charmed, but I am fascinated. But you always reason why you are fascinated. So that factor of why should always be there. Okay, when I say that the factor of why should always be there, think of yourself. You are doing an interview, and someone asks you a question. So someone reads your CV, and then they start asking you questions because they need the reasoning. So in your SOP, you have to be proactive, and you have to have those things in your SOP. Then you talk about specific technical skills as well in your SOP if they are adding up to your prospective course. For instance, if you're applying for a master's, that in which, for instance, in here, the person talk about experimental. I have 3 experimental physics courses, and in those courses, I used MATLAB and Fortran. So these things is like when the person would apply, when the application, like faculty is reading this application, they know, okay, this person has already some experimental skills, and then he or she knows how to use the MATLAB or Fortran or modeling, how to do the modeling. So mathematical modeling. So that means it's a bit easy. This guy is really good. You know, these kind of things. So, or sometimes you show that you're more proactive. You attended conferences about the courses about the program you're already applying to, and you've got insights and you've got inspiration, or maybe you can act as your aha moment. So you talk about those things like this. These examples. Then we go to next about how do you discuss your goals? When you discuss your goals, they should be realistic. For instance, I want myself to be able to give solution of the problems relating parallel distributed systems. This can only be possible. So I've given a statement, but now I'm going to justify this statement that saying after widening my own concepts in a free and very technical environment. So in this way, you are showing that you have goals, and those goals are impossible before going and joining and reading and studying in that master's course or with that research group. So you can talk about your goals and try to think that how your goals are aligned with the course they are offering you. And then, for instance, if you can see, ultimately make a meaningful contribution in the ever-growing field of computer networks by joining the relevant research group. So this is the thing, you are trying to parallelize your goals to the program they are offering to you. So think in a logical and rational way. Okay. And next we have, this is the same thing, like it's another example of discussing your future goals. I myself, like, I use this example because, okay, most of us think that studying abroad or studying, going for higher studies, you end up with a lecturer or being in a university, uh, in a research group, but you can show in your SOP that what's your career goal. I want to continue my career as an engineer in industry leading IT firms, and I want to, as like, okay, this is something that maybe not complete, like this is not enough. I want to continue my career. That's it. You can add something into it, and you can think realistically. What else can you do in the next 5 years? And then you can say, yeah, I might can contribute to educating IT students through lectures or training programs, or maybe I think it's important for social and economic growth. So you said something, and then you add something on top of that, and then you reason about that when you are discussing your future plans. So you need to be always rational when you talk about your plans. Next, very important part. If you're applying for a scholarship-based master program, most of the times when we apply for a PhD or for master programs, we aim to scholarships, and we want to achieve them. But why we want to achieve them, we need to mention that clearly. So mention it clearly that you require financial aid. Maybe you can say, I want to get higher education, but due to limited resources, I can't finance my studies. Okay, if you don't want to be that straight, you can say the rigorous studies in this program will not allow me to work either. Or you can just say the rigorous studies in the program will not allow me to work part-time. So getting financial aid is important, is the most important thing. And you can mention the scholarship and say that it will help me a lot to bear my educational expenses. Or I mean, you need to show. You can be a bit personal here. You can talk about yourself, why you actually require that scholarship. So it's a very good strategy that you always mention that why you want that financial aid and why you are applying for this scholarship. Next, now we are going towards our finishing of the fifth paragraph or the last paragraph. If you said everything and then you say, I hope this master's program will help me to get a better career. When I mentioned this, then my uncle, for instance, you have an ambition, you want to study business intelligence or artificial intelligence or medical imaging or computer vision, something, because you have seen people, they are so successful in their career. That's why you want to study that. And then you end up saying, yeah, I want to get a better career because my friends or my uncle or my siblings, they are doing very well. This is not the way you end up your SOP. So you have to be a bit more enthusiastic. You need to show in a positive way that I hope you, you give a positive message at the end. You say, I hope this personal statement supports my application and demonstrates that I am enthusiastic, disciplined, and hardworking student with a keen interest in current affairs who would enjoy contributing to the university life. So when I've read this ending part of the SOP, I see that this person has already showed, like you just don't say that I am enthusiastic, disciplined, and hardworking student, but you said that this statement demonstrates that already. So you already reasoned and talked about those things, and then you ending up in more nice way, and you use these kind of words. I'm not saying to swallow the dictionary, but you need to know few catchy words, few good words you use, and then you and give a positive message. And and I mean, in this message, the person has shown that, yeah, he knows more. I mean, he's just not bookworm, and he's discussing other things too. He knows the current affairs. I mean, sometimes, you know, for instance, if I'm applying for a PhD in mobile computing, if I am following the current affairs or I'm following the news, I know what's going on out there. I know what's going on in the research world, what sort of technologies out there. So these kind of things, if you talk about them, they make you something different from others. I mean, everybody has done a bachelor's. Everybody has read those courses what you're talking about. But everybody have got a different experience from those courses. So you need to show that picture in your letter. Next, there's another example. My ultimate goal is to improve healthcare facilities. My academic product, professional training, love for humanity, passion for physics, and urge to bring a change by uplifting health facilities to the next level. So it's a bit more personal ending. You can. I've given you multiple examples so that you can have an understanding how you can think for yourself. Uh, To be brief, I'm very keen and enthusiastic. I'm aware of hard work and perseverance necessary for this kind of work, but I'm sure that I'll be able to justify to the fullest confidence reposed in me. So it's a bit more like you say, it's a strong ending that you are showing hope, and you have a confidence in yourself as well. But before saying that you have confidence in yourself, you have to talk about your experiences already in your SOP. I'm saying it again and again because you never say directly that I am enthusiastic. You have to rationally prove that, reason about that. Now, summarizing all this, what are the do's for when we write an SOP? Make you alive as a person. You have to brainstorm during your draft. You can write 10 related or non-related things, like 10 related things, 10 non-related things. You can take help from a friend. You should have to start writing and don't edit at first in your drafting phase. Write in a more vivid and lively way. Don't be boring, and share your stories. I mean, I'm not saying sharing your stories mean writing a novel. You have to be a good vivid, but you have to be clear as well. Show them you know them. This program is a good fit for you, not the other way around. Like we always talk when we write why I want to study abroad. It doesn't mean that you start talking about I want to study a particular course. It doesn't mean you have to start talking about this is I am very good, I can do this, I have this thing, I have blah blah blah. No, you have to align your goals with the things, with the program outline as well. Follow the rules. That means if they have asked you, they have given you instructions and guidelines, always abide by that. Never do that. Okay, I have 500 words limit, I can write 501, or I have 500 words, let me change the font size and then I'll be able to convey my message. No, you have to work out on that. Believe me, when I started writing my motivation letter, I end up having 2 pages, and I went to I was recently in my PhD, I was actually applying for a scholarship, a travel grant, and I went to there was a course, academic writing skills course. I went to the teacher there, and I asked her, I showed her, there was like we used to get like case studies, for instance, like they give us a tutorial. So in that tutorial, I brought my scholarship letter, and I asked her to actually help me out and discuss like the writing, or maybe if I can shrink it, how can I consolidate things in it more, and those kind of things. So you need to know how to get the help. You need to find it, outreach. You need to outreach. You need to think out of the box. So you take your time and you have to be honest. I mean, if you don't have a skill, don't say that. People are not idiots. They're not stupid that if you are writing something and then they would say, wow, this person is a superman or a super lady. Oh, they know everything. I mean, they have experience. So they read a lot of motivation letters and applications every day. So be honest and never say something that you don't know. What are the don'ts? They are most interesting and most important. You never start with a boring introduction. I've given you examples for that already. You never overuse a letter I. I mean, yes, you need to use that letter I, but you never overuse. What that means, you never say, I am brilliant, I am friendly, I am a team player. You never say like that. You have to talk about your experiences when, and then talk what you've got out of it. So this is where you actually showing off yourself as well. Use of sentences like passionate, and broad, concepts, revived and groomed, I'll be groomed, going into this course. These things are byproducts. So you already are going to, I mean, these are not the main things. If someone would go and study abroad in a very good university, if someone would do a master's course or a PhD from a very good university, for sure they would be groomed, their concepts would be revived, or their vision would be broad enough. But these are byproducts, so never focus on them. Focus on the research aspects, focus on the outlines of the program and these things. Never complain of your grades. For instance, if you are saying that I have a D grade and the professor was not good, that's why I got it, and I am very good, I am going to work, I am more hardworking and I can do my best, or maybe give lame excuses. For instance, I was not healthy, that's why I couldn't do good in this subject. No, you have to be gracefully accepting those things. You might can say, yeah, I have I've got a bad grade in this course. That's why I want to study and learn more about it, because working in my field, for instance, if someone did a bachelor's and then he or she was working in during his or her bachelor's, she couldn't get good marks in a particular subject. But then you have practical experience and you are working in a domain for 2 years and you've learned new things out of that, and now you are more keen to know and enhance your studies, enhance your knowledge about that particular domain. So you can use it positively, but never say it in a negative way, never complain. And then never do grammatical errors. We're not very good, like our native language is not English, so we're not very good in English. Everybody knows it, to be honest. When people in any university in USA or any university in UK, they get our applications, they know we are not native speakers, and our IELTS results or other English courses results would show them already. But at least from your end, try to make it as best as you can. So try to consult, try to talk to people, to professors, or maybe English, getting help from professors from English or literature or something, and never do grammatical errors. So if you're not very good in punctuation and all that, seek help. You don't use the words like to be, is, was, were, things as facts. They show that you are lazy and you are like, yeah, you're at the surface level. You don't know much. You just want to be somewhere. Never do like that. Use always active verbs. Don't underestimate or ever overestimate yourself. I mean, with all these things, maybe there are few people shy out there and they're like, no way, I don't think I have all those skills and I can talk about my skills like that. But you are underestimating yourself. For instance, if you are applying for a master's scholarship or a PhD, there are a lot of, like hundreds of other people out there screaming out, me, I am the best, and then they are saying it in their statement of purpose. So you have to come out of the box and be relaxed and talk about yourself. I know a few people, they don't like talking about themselves, but you need to take time. You need to take time and then talk about yourself. You can take help from your friends and from others, but Do that. Never underestimate yourself. And then secondly, never overestimate yourself as well. As I mentioned, people who are reading, they are not stupid. They know what you are talking about. They know. For instance, if you are talking about a skill and okay, maybe you are super talented and you've got that skill, maybe it's a kind of like a miracle, for instance, but not everybody have that skill. So if you have some certain type of skill, you have to justify that. Never overestimate yourself. Always be humble when you're talking about something in your achievement, about your achievements, about your awards. And then never plagiarize. I mean, they know what you are talking about, and if you have, I mean, this is not plagiarism. If you write something and then you go and ask help and for improving your writing, this is not something that you are plagiarizing or you are cheating. But if you don't what you do is, if you don't write yourself and you ask someone else to write on your behalf because you think you're not good enough, then it's not going to work for you, because it's not just a statement of purpose for your application. It can be other things as well. I would talk about that after a while. I mean, because in my this lecture, we said that we are how first the focus would be on writing effective SOPs, and then maybe we can more talk about the applications, the quality of the applications, how you can increase that, or maybe other things. I will talk about that. And finally, never lie. Never ever lie. Be honest, because when you lie, people know that. Maybe sometimes you can get away with that, but most of times it never works. So never lie. And these are a few references where you can go and check and improve your skills about writing effective statement of purpose, and you can take more things out of that. But always do your homework and always struggle, always strive for something. If I have to write a letter of motivation, my first letter of motivation, I didn't know what it is about. I was so much panicked. I was like, what? I have to talk about myself? But how am I going to do that? But then you learn those skills. You have to show that you are confident, you are enthusiastic, you are striving, you thrive on challenges, and you are dynamic. This is what I would conclude my talk on. Thank you so much. So I think I would take a break because I'm fasting. And then we will continue our session.
आप क्वेश्चंस पोस्ट कर सकते हैं, वो भी आपको आंसर देंगे. आप सारे पोस्ट कर दें, वो आंसर आपको देंगे जिस ऑर्डर में है. तो काइंडली अपने क्वेश्चंस पोस्ट करना शुरू कर दें अभी. मैंने कहा क्वेश्चंस पोस्ट करना शुरू कर दें आप अपने, वो आंसर देंगे अभी आपको ब्रेक के बाद. 2-3 मिनट के बाद आपको आंसर देंगे.
हेलो, आप सबको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है? You can ask me questions. I can answer you. At least I can try to answer your questions. Otherwise, I can talk about more like how to make an effective application.
क्वेश्चंस वो लिख रहे हैं साइट पर, आप उधर पढ़ के मतलब किसी भी ऑर्डर से शुरू करें। मेरा ख्याल है सामने
मुझे क्यों नहीं नजर आ रहे
चेक बॉक्स पे आ रहे हैं राइट साइड।
Oh, sorry. I think I have to scroll it down.
अब ये आप किसी साइट से या तो लास्ट में आकर फिर ऊपर ले जाएं जहाँ पे वो अपने फीचर साउंड का, और उसके बाद आप देना शुरू कर दें स्टार्ट कर नाम और फुल क्वेश्चन, और अगर आप कुछ और बोलना चाहते जैसे आपने यू हैव ऑलमोस्ट 45 मिनट। हाँ वो वेट कीजिएगा अभी आवाज़ आती है।
Okay, Vikas, can you hear me? Hello. हाँ जी.
अब आ रही
तो
जी जी
अब
अब आ रही
इसमें क्वेश्चंस हैं कुछ?
हाँ क्वेश्चन वो चैट पे
हाँ
पोस्ट करते रहे, अगर आप तो किसी करें तो उन्हें मालूम हो जाएगा कि किसका नाम है और क्वेश्चन
हाँ
वो
जी.
कौन सा है, फिर वो
यहाँ से स्टार्ट करते हैं. किसी ने पूछा हुआ कि like in financial aid, I am applying for Erasmus Mundus or other specific scholarship. Should I? Yeah. हाँ जी. मैरी बलोच ने ये क्वेश्चन किया हुआ है कि if I'm applying for Erasmus Mundus or other specific scholarship, even then we have to mention that we have limited resources. When I applied for my Erasmus Mundus, I did mention that zero tuition fee is the incentive to apply for this scholarship program. So you never always say that you have limited resources. I mean, when you need a financial aid, you need to show that. You need to say it. So I think it answers your question, Mary. I mean, you need to mention that. You need to be honest. I'm not saying give a whole application of saying that, yeah, I have these problems, I am really in need, but at least talk about that. Talk about a bit that you're applying for a scholarship and it's a fully funded scholarship. So you know the, what do you say? I think आवाज clear है मेरी. You need to know कि उस scholarship की significance क्या है. That's why I'm saying that talk about the financial aid. The last point contradicts some of the previous ones. Hasibullah Ramesh. Which last point? I would get back to your question. I have to check more questions because then I have for this last point I have to go back to the presentation and then talk about that. Okay, whenever I write motivation lines, it seems I'm telling a lie. It's not about lie. You should relate your motivations with your experience and skills. So you need to be rational. You need to know why you are going abroad and want to study. I mean, 5 years earlier, when I wrote my SOP, the very first SOP, I had no idea how to write an SOP. What I did is, I talked to a friend of mine. He was my classmate in bachelor's. He was doing an Erasmus Mundus already, and I talked to him. I asked him, how did you write your SOP? What did you put in that? And how can I do that? तो इस तरह से आप लोगों से बात करें, आप देखें जिन लोगों ने ऑलरेडी जो सक्सेस स्टोरीज हैं या जो आपको लगता है आपके टीचर्स हैं, they can help you out. So talk to them, discuss. I mean, you just write whatever is in your mind, but be honest. Like, be honest means, what is your motivation to go abroad and study? Is it the motivation that you want to seek job abroad? You would, it's a byproduct. You might would get, you are lucky, you would get a job abroad, but it's not always the case. For instance, when I applied for my Erasmus funders, okay, it's good that I wanted to go and get a job, but it was not my motivation. And it shows in your SOP. My motivation was really to go abroad and study there. And to, I mean, it's not just the studies, it's about the culture, it's about the things that are around you, what you learn, it's about the system out there. So you need to know why you want to study that particular course and what is your motivation. And you can justify, you have to be able to justify your motivation. Okay? And ये शोएब अनवर का क्वेश्चन था. And then how to figure out whether you are underestimating or overestimating yourself. ये नीचे ही हसीबुल्ला ने कहा है कि ask people to proofread your SOP. It's just the best thing to do. I said that whenever you write your SOP, in your proofreading phase, you have to reread it. I mean, if you read it again yourself again and again, you would not see your own mistakes. So you need to ask others. You need to ask, I mean, for me, if I discuss my own personal experience, I wrote my SOP and then I sent it to my friends and asked them to read it and help me out. That what you think I have written in it. Is it because they were my classmates and they knew me. So they knew what I am talking about. And but obviously you would not send to, I'm talking about friends. I'm not talking about the classmates who were not your friends. Okay, so try to seek help. Then someone is saying, I am a gold medalist. Can I mention this in my SOP? Yes, you can mention that in your SOP, but you have to mention it in a way, in a reasoning way, like in a way that you say, I think I was, if I have to mention that, for instance, I was ranked 5th in my bachelor's, I would say, yeah, I was ranked 5th, so I think I have that much caliber to cope with the challenges out there, or these kind of things. So you need to say that why you think adding up this gold medalist thing would give you a reason. Would give, like you can say, I am a knowledge seeker, that's why I worked hard, I got a gold medal, and then I am sure that I'm going to work more into this program, or maybe I am going to get more knowledge. And you know, I mean, you need to show that you're a hard worker, but you don't say directly. Okay? Now next is, if someone has no research background, how he will tackle Shoaib Anwar. This is your question. When I applied for my master's, I didn't have any research background. When I applied for my PhD, I didn't have any research background, but I had my thesis. My master thesis was totally research oriented. And I had a very hard time for my first year in PhD to cope with research challenges, but I learned them. So never think that if you don't have a particular skill, you can, don't highlight that. Don't say I don't have a research background, but you can, for instance, when I was working, for instance, I've shown you an example here. Let me show you of this SOP. For instance, wait a sec. What was that? I think it was in the skills. Yeah, here, oh God, where is it? Yeah, here the person is saying, I have utilized several data mining techniques for data analysis, migration, and pattern extraction for the data of almost 30 million users while working in a renowned company. So what does it say? It doesn't say that you have a research background, but in other words, you are actually trying to research, you are trying to apply certain technologies, certain tools to get something out of it. So you need to show off that if, never say that I don't have this skill. but always try to reason that if you have acquired one skill, how can this help you and add up to your other skills as well? For instance, when I applied for my PhD, I didn't have too much, didn't have any publication, and I didn't have any skill, like research skill. I considered it to myself. So I just said that while doing my master's research and while working, because right after my master's, I didn't apply for PhD. I was not interested by then, but I was working in a company. And in that company, actually, I was working on new things. I was always researching. I was going back to Google and Googling and reading documents, and because I was tailoring a new document, a new quality. Let's say it was a quality-oriented document, something in my company. So I realized, why am I doing this boring job? I should go and get some more skills that I don't have. So you need to justify yourself. So you need to talk to yourself why you want to do that. I mean, when I started my PhD, I thought I have a work experience, I have industrial experience, I have all that. Which skill is missing? Okay, research skill is missing. My self-management skill is missing. So maybe this PhD would help me. And I applied for that. And I worked into my statement of purpose. So you need to for my PhD, I had 2 interviews, and those interviews were related to my statement of purpose, what I've mentioned there. And then, if someone has no research background, I hope I've answered you that if you don't have any research background, you can still talk about your other skills as well, and you can show that these skills, if some missing skill is there, how you want to acquire that, or you're not that straight, but you talk about reason about other circumstances around you. What should be the flow of SOP? You can get help from Arsalan Kiani. You can get help from the reference links I've shown you, or you can read the structure in detail, where I've talked about the first paragraph, the second and the third paragraph. And like for the first paragraph, it's the introduction, it's the research field where you are applying into, or the program you're applying into. And then you talk about in the next stage, in the next paragraph, in the next flow, you talk about your own skills that are adding up to that program. And then finally, you talk about your goals, and those goals should be aligned with the outline of the program, of the research topic, or of the things you are going to apply to. Then you have how much details of research should be included. So it depends. Heather Ali, it's your question. It depends that if you are writing a research proposal, then you talk a lot about your research and the topic and the prospective research techniques you are going to use. Or if it's a plain statement of purpose for a master's course, you don't talk too much about your research. You can talk about a very good publication you had about your research, or a couple of publications, for instance. Or you can talk about, if you don't have any publication, you can talk about your theses, or you can talk about your research projects you have done, these kind of things. So it's up to you how much details you want to add into it. But for instance, if you are writing an SOP for just 500 words, then you have to really picky, and you need to take what is the best, what you think is the best in your research work. Or not just the best, what if you have something best, but it's not aligned to the program you are applying to? I mean, which is a rare case, because most of the times, if you have something best, or you have achieved an award for something, you go and apply, or you want to acquire more knowledge in that domain. So you have to picky about your research topics you are going of your publications or the research projects you are going to talk about. Isn't it hectic to write SOP different for every different program? Yes, it is hectic, but when you draft, in your drafting phase, you consolidate everything. Like in your mind map, where I've shown you, you know each and everything, and then before doing your drafting part, when you are doing your homework, you know you are applying for multiple masters. And for instance, if I've done my bachelor's, and then when I was applying for my Erasmus Mundus, I was applying in computational logic, and I was applying for e-business networks and e-business centered computing. So these two things, they are subfields of my computing or the computer sciences. And what I did is, in my SOP, I started with introduction has the same. I mean, it's you're talking about yourself, but you change the courses, you change the projects, you change the achievements, the skills. So those kind of things you change. So if you think, like in my case, my analytical skills were the same for my computational logic and for my business logic, like for e-business and networks and e-business centered computing. So I use the same things for both of the SOPs. I'm not saying that each and every word should be the different from both the SOPs, but I mean, your name is same on the SOP. So your degrees you have achieved are the same on the SOP. But you need to tailor it for every program. For instance, if I'm applying for networks and I'm talking about computational logic in it. I mean, logic means I'm talking about logic subjects I had. If I've learned any logic languages, and I am talking about them in my SOP that I am applying for networks and e-business centered computing. That's not relevant. So that's the point. When I wrote for my computational logic, or when you are, for instance, writing for a program, you need to think that which are the skills that you think are directly related to this program. You have those skills you have. For instance, your communication skills or your presentation skills, they are the same for every course. So you might not you might not mention that, but your analytical skills, your logical, like tackling the problems in a logical way, those skills makes a difference for what sort of program you're applying to. Or in your SOP, you need to mention that separately. Then pose your question. Oh yes, I think I skipped this point. It's a very good question. Khizar Javed, he asked how to tackle bad grades in our SOP. I said you don't talk about your bad grades in your SOP and never complain about your grades. But when I did my bachelor's, there was nothing in my mind that you can improve your grades. So I had almost in my transcript, I had two Ds. Like I had two Ds in my transcript, and I didn't know that I could improve that by then. Like I'm talking about 2007, but now I know I got to, like, after a certain time I got to know it's not bad to go back to your university and improve your grades. For instance, I finished my bachelor's, and then in every university you get a grace period, or you get a certain period where you can actually improve few of your grades. You can retake few of your subjects. I mean, I didn't know, I didn't pay attention to that. So you can actually go and improve your grades. But if you haven't improved any of your grade and you think it's going to be, someone is going to mention that that you have a D grade and you're applying for this course, then you have to justify that in your SOP. For instance, I mean, I've given you an example that I had a. Let me tell you an example from an SOP. I'm just checking out an SOP where they shown their grades. Yeah. So, for instance, I secured an A plus in my bachelor's project or my bachelor's thesis. Unfortunately, like right after your positive things, you say, I couldn't secure good grades in the course of artificial intelligence during my bachelor's. So I believe I need to improve my knowledge of effective artificial intelligence techniques and theoretical aspects. But taking into account this factor, I did enroll myself in an online machine learning course of Stanford University by Andrew during my project at work about pattern extraction last year. So you are talking about your bad grades, but you are talking about something you did to address those grades. I mean, so I have given you two aspects. One is that if you have bad grades, you can go back to university. You can improve that in ideal situation. I mean, if you have time already. But in my scenario, for instance, if I didn't have a case that I could improve my grades, then you can go for other courses and you can show in your SOP that you did something to address that problem before applying to this SOP, before applying to this program. Okay. Then we have a question from Sandesh Kumar. Kindly consider me some specialization for Masters in Computer Systems Engineering. Kindly mention the universities also. Okay, Sandesh, I think this question is a bit not related to SOP for the time being. So I would answer you after this session. Okay, you can send this question to like you can post this question on the under the lecture invitation. I mean in the post, in the group post, and then I would answer it there, or I would answer you in your inbox about the universities and all that. Okay, in SOP, if we don't use much, is then how can we describe much things about ourselves, as we have to tell them a lot about ourselves? It's a question from Tayyab Qureshi. He's saying that if we don't use much I's, then how can we describe much things about ourselves? As I mentioned, you don't say directly that I am very friendly, I am very good, I am very hardworking. It's a kind of about yourself. I have done this. I am very good. I mean, just write this essay yourself and start reading it loud when you use a lot of I's. And then you will get the answer where there is a problem, where you can actually use other things to, for instance, if you say, I am, as I've given you examples, that I am very confident, but you don't say directly, I am very confident. You say that due to presentations, due to different participating in different volunteer works, or describing my work a lot of times and representing, for instance, you representing right now, for instance, I would say I was representing my country in 3 different programs, so I think I am confident enough that I can talk in front of a lot of people. So it's like you give a reason about something, and then you talk about yourself. So when we say don't overuse I's, that means you're not arrogant and you're a bit more humble. I mean, the best part to know that you're using I's, write your essay and then read it aloud. Or you can write your essay and read it aloud in front of a friend of yours, or in front of an acquaintance of yours, maybe. Then you would. Acquaintance, when I said acquaintance, that means that that person is more, your friend might be a bit more impartial, like partial towards you, but that acquaintance can be impartial. So that acquaintance can be a professor, he or she can be a faculty member, or a friend of friend or something, you know. So Ali Hassan, he asked, like, provide your email ID so we can send you SOP for proofreading. Yes, you can do that. You can contact me on my in the group from Facebook, and I can help you out with your SOPs. Mohammed Wakas asked me what should be the flow of SOP. I've already, guys, there is no voice. Okay, I hope you are listening to me. Yes, I already answered this question about flow of SOP. Then there is someone who asked, oh, sorry. I am scrolling down for the questions. So Sandesh Kumar, he asked a question, need an advice, is it necessary to do masters for job? It depends what sort of job you want to do or you want to get into. For instance, when I finished my bachelor's, I did not opt for a master's. I wanted to get into the industry and work. I mean, to gain practical experience. But after a certain time, I was like, okay, I think it's a pretty bit boring, and I should go out and acquire more knowledge, do masters, and do something different. So it's up to you, but it's not always necessary to get to do a master's to grab a job. But if you talk about abroad, in abroad, like most of times, they ask for a master's from Pakistan. I mean, if you are applying from Pakistan and want to work in England, for instance, at least you or want to work in Belgium, you need to have a master's because here a lot of PhDs are out there. So for them, PhDs are applying for the jobs. So think of the masters or bachelors where they would fall. So these kind of things. It depends where you are applying and what sort of industry you are applying for the job. The ultimate goal to do PhD is teaching. It's a question from Ali Hassan. I would tell you, my ultimate goal is not to do a teaching if I'm doing a PhD. I cannot be a good teacher. So my ultimate goal is to grab the knowledge, to acquire the knowledge I don't have, and to know the domain I am researching in well enough. So it's not just a domain actually, it's about the research, how you actually do that, and what is it about. And then through time, for instance, I know a few of my friends, when we finished our masters, they were already in teaching and they wanted to teach and they wanted to be in universities, and that's why they as professors, that when they wanted to be in universities as professors, so that's why they wanted to go for PhD. But in my case, I didn't want to be a teacher, so right after my masters, I stopped my studies and I started working. But while I was working, I had that thing in my mind as well, that I've finished a master's in a very good grade, but should I go for PhD? Does it worth it? So when I started, I had this open question in my mind as well, that am I going for teaching? But once you are finished with your PhD, you have both the options open. So you have more options when you are doing a PhD. So it's up to you. If you have caliber, you think you can, you wanted to do a PhD, then you can always go and apply for that. It's not always that your ultimate goal has to be the teaching. You can be a research manager, a research expert. There are a lot of fellowships out there. So there is a lot of R&D being happening in the industrial, at the industrial level as well. So it's not always that you have to go and do teaching right after your PhD. Yes, Naveed Anwar has asked me, what do I suggest about highlighting extracurricular nature in statement of purpose? A professor may think that this person cannot allocate time required for research because he will get involved in other activities. Okay, I would give you my personal experience. When I started my PhD, when I told my professor that, I mean, let's not talk about after starting my PhD, let's talk about my statement of purpose. I mentioned that if you have space, I would advise and I would suggest that please mention your extracurricular activities. Please show that you are dynamic. For instance, they would know, I mean, they are reading a lot of applications, and then they would read an application if someone is applying for a master's in particle physics, for instance, and they would know, oh, this person is a person who every month or every week goes to kayaking. So it means that the person is actually vibrant and dynamic. For instance, a person from computer sciences, and he is doing something, for instance, he's working in dramas. Wow, I mean, this person is actually doing a PhD and working in the dramas or in TV or is a presenter as well. So it means that you are more vibrant and you are different from others as well. So it never shows and gives a negative point. You always secure and make your mark when you have some sort of extracurricular activities. It's not about, yes, my hobby is gardening, my hobby is reading articles on the internet, and those kind of boring hobbies. No, don't talk about them like that in your SOP. But talk about any extracurricular activity, you think that not everybody is going to talk about it in the SOP. It's always when you write your SOP, think of yourself as a tiny, tiny drop in the ocean. So you're a tiny, tiny drop of water. So you need to think those things, and you need to know yourself, where you are different and what is special about you. Okay, do we need to come back after completing our studies in Erasmus Mundus, like anybody to come back to your home country? Mary Baloch asked me a question about Erasmus Mundus. No, there is no bond for Erasmus Mundus. You are free to choose whatever you want to do. I mean, I was an Erasmus Mundus alumni, so it's an authentic answer. Like, I know there's no bond for that. I'm neither having any research publication nor a good project as suggested by a job. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, सबको आवाज आ रही है
Okay.
आपकी.
Sorry. Okay. Next is to. I am neither having any research or publication nor a good project as suggested by job interviewers. How I should write SOP for MS admission? But Imran Jami, he has asked this question. I think I don't know why you are talking about yourself from perspective or interviewers or a job. Like, they have mentioned that you don't have a good project. Or do you think yourself that you don't have a good project and you who have never done a research or publication? Okay, you don't have a research. If I talk about myself, I would never say that I had a very good research project. Or, like, when I finished my bachelor's, I did a very good project. No, it's not about that. But what you can do is, if you think you don't have enough skills in you to write for an SOP for an MS admission, you might can do something for that. You might can go and attend some online course, or you can do something to address that thing. But at the first point, like, I would say, I don't think so. You should think that you don't have any good project. Start write your SOP according to the admission criteria. But the first thing is, don't overestimate. Like, don't over expect that in the application master's program, in a program call, they have mentioned that, okay, we are interested in a bachelor who had got 3.5 GPA, and you are going to apply with a 3 or 2.5 GPA. Do you think, okay, I know a case where someone applied for, there was nothing mentioned about your GPA or your grades or your projects, quality of your projects, but it was like a person applied with a GPA of 3.002 or 04, 3.04, let's say, and then he had a very good motivation letter. So, and I am saying it because a faculty member from my university, from KL Leuven, we were discussing this thing once, and then the point is, they can what sometimes we say, scaling or something, or lowering your expectations. If someone has something that's different, that's really extraordinary, like, you can mention in your SOP other things, not always about your bachelor's, like about your courses, about the best courses you have done. You might not highlight your project, maybe it's not very good, but you can talk about the courses. In your transcripts, you've got very good marks, and they can help you to gain that MS admission. And then, okay, thanks, where the condition applied and when does not, after completing study, you have to come back to your country as I've seen, notice by institution. Yes, I am Naz. I am not going to answer your question because I think it's a condition that says after completing your studies you have to come back. If it says you have to come back, then I mean, it's not related with this session. I didn't back to country in set time period. I've seen you notice. I'm sorry. I think it's not a related question at this stage. So I would go get to the next question. I read some SOP that starts with some quotation, then relating fascination. Yes, I can ask. I mean, it's not a bad thing to start writing with a quotation or use a quotation, but always justify why you have used this quotation, and you have to check your quotation carefully. Like go and check the quotation with the original resource, and then don't quote yourself as an expert. So you are quoting from somewhere, and you have to know the original resource, and you need to know why you have used that quotation. So it should reflect back in your text. Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but it shouldn't be so hypothetical. Like you've used a quotation, and then you don't know why you've used that quotation. What if we have a limitation that you can use only 35 words to write in SOP? So how we can maintain everything in 300 words? Okay, Sandesh asked about a question about 300 words. This is the most difficult SOP to write. I mean, for me, for instance, if I have to write an SOP for 300 words, what I have to do is I first draft everything, and then I consolidate. I consolidate with the help of my friends or with the help of the people I think are the best. They can help me, they can advise me properly that which things are better to put in my SOP and how can I actually use less words and convey more messages. So this thing more have to do with your writing skills as well. Writing 300 words. So if you don't have very good writing skills, or I don't have very good writing skills, I would go and ask for help for the experts. Sindesh, I think your question is not related right now. If I do my master's from Pakistan, will I be able to get a job in abroad? Yes, you will be able to get a job abroad. It depends on your profile. It depends on your master's. It depends how you actually portray your application or your case for the job. When the application now starts at Belgium University, does this university also demand a research proposal from your research project? Umar Said asked me a question about application round starts in Belgium universities. Does this university also demand a research proposal? It's a lot of information. I need to, you can send me the question in my inbox, like in my Facebook inbox. I can get back to you with a lot of information. But right now, I cannot say anything about it. I mean, I know a few information, but because the information changes with every master program, and then they give an open call, and then when you say Belgium, they place you on a research project. It depends which sort of master program you are doing, and which university are you talking about, and so this you cannot generalize. It's for different for every course and for every university. But now, if I want to do PhD in business management, how am I going to provide my expertise in SOP as an MBA student? Arsalan Kiani, he asked me a question since I did my BS and MS in electrical engineering, but now if I want to do PhD in business or management, okay, this is a tricky one, Arsalan. If you want to do a PhD for, is it a PhD? But now I want to do PhD in business. Why you want to do a PhD in business? What is the thing that you think would take you, like, why are you good at it? Why you want to do research in business management? So these kind of things you need to know. And then you have to do a parallel studies that for a BBA or MBA student, what he has and what you don't have in your CV or in your academic profile, you can acquire that. And then you have to show in your SOP how you have acquired those things. So there shouldn't be a loophole in your SOP if you apply for something like that, where your previous studies in something else and you want to opt for another study that's from a different domain. It's not, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it is very much possible, because one of my colleagues, he did his BS MS in electrical engineering, and then he opted for a PhD in computer sciences. But you have to know the hook. You have to know where from like the flow, like in your electrical engineering. Okay, maybe in your job you did some sort of project that inspired you. What was your aha moment to think of doing a PhD in business management? You need to show that. If you will successfully show that in your SOP, you can get it. So it's not that you cannot get it. It's about sometimes you get an edge that okay, you don't have knowledge about this subject and you want to gain knowledge because of A, B, C, like because of these factors. So you need to know those factors. Okay. I had interview from your professor. Okay, let me read more questions. Uh, I had interview from KOL professor, CGPA 2.28 and IELTS was 6.5. Two professors were there to take my interview at the end. They said, we will reply you after discussion. It's 4 days. I didn't get any reply. What is the ratio of acceptance? Junaid, I read your question. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what is the ratio of acceptance and what which professor you are talking about and which sort of program you have applied or being interviewed for. But they would get back to you. If they haven't got back to you, wait for some time and you can politely ask them. So, I mean, I always mention when you are writing your SOPs or when you are applying for applications, please try to contact the contact persons who have whose email address is there. I mean, don't bombard them with a lot of emails, but when you think something is missing and you are not like you're not sure, you need to ask them, send them emails. They would reply you, they would talk to you, they are there to help you. And it's not, I mean, when I applied for Erasmus Mundus, when I sent my documents, I was like, whether they are there or not, because Pakistan Post. I was a student by then, and I was like, I don't want to spend a lot of money for these things, so I didn't use any specific service. I thought, okay, I would send with Pakistan Post, and I was a bit unsure whether it would be there or not. But it was there, and how I ensured it, I called them. I didn't send an email. I tried to send them an email. I mean, I didn't even try to send them an email. Why? Because I was so curious. I was like, oh, email would be late. Let me call them and ask them. So it shows the enthusiasm. It shows that you are there, you are keen, and you want to. I mean, I'm not saying that you need to really bombard them with a lot of questions and with a lot of non-related questions when they have replied you, and then you still trying to contact them and ask them, oh yes, but my application is rejected, what can I do, blah blah blah. These things are not practical, but be practical and be pragmatic and contact them and get questions. Like for instance, if you're writing an SOP and you have read an requirement and that requirement is not clear, you can ask them. You can ask them that, okay, if I have this and maybe this question you have asked me about doing a PhD, you can talk directly to the professor, and maybe you can, or maybe a professor from your own faculty or someone who have done something like that, and you can talk and share that experience, share their experience, get their brains, what they have in their brains. They are actually like you need to know who are the best people. You need to talk to them. So these, I would always writing these things and applying for for scholarships or masters. Always talk to the best brains. Talk to the people you think they have already done these kind of things. Okay. Yes. Next is there any question I've skipped? So I think we are almost done. Thank you so much, everybody.
जी आप अगर ठीक है आप एंड कर सकते हैं लेक्चर, वैसे भी टाइम इज जस्ट गोइंग टू फिनिश.
Okay, I would like to end this lecture, but हमने जैसे इन्होंने मेरे उसमें हमने publish किया था कि if we will have time, we can talk about the IELTS and we can talk about other effective applications. But I knew it's such a big topic of writing effective SOPs that there will not be enough time to discuss about other things. That's why I wanted to talk about these things and discuss these things more. Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience for listening to me. Allah Hafiz.
अब लास्ट लेक्चर आएगा इसके बाद हमारा, तो वो अटेंड कीजिएगा, राइटिंग रिसर्च रिव्यू और लेटर्स के बारे में. और सी यू ऑल आफ्टर मे बी 8 o'clock लेक्चर is 9 o'clock. Okay, then see you all. Allah Hafiz.